Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, I want to highlight the power of Mustang. Now, this unit has always been very strong, especially in the mid to late game, but I think recently with the new patch, it started popping up even more than usual, and this game highlights that perfectly. My opponent will be none other than Sacco, I think the undisputed GOAT of 501, so yeah, a better player than me on average, for sure, so it's going to be a tough one. I decided to go missile spec with Hound and Steel Ball. Now this pack, after having played a bit, I don't think it's that good. It's basically the same type of unit, so it tends to get countered quite heavily by, for instance, early Raidens, Scorpions, or Charge Shot Arclight, which I've been seeing a lot of as well. Let me just move over here, maybe make myself a bit smaller. There we go. And yeah, but we're trying to make it work. I have a good matchup as well into the Stormcallers here and the Fangs. I think I should be just fine. I've got the missile spec as well, so I might be able to get some good value onto those Stormcallers. And yeah, perhaps we can make this early game work. I will be playing aggressive, trying to pair up the Steel Balls there with their own Hounds as their kind of personal chaff clear. Crawler in front, that's meant to hopefully distract the Stormcaller on this side. And then I decided to use one Crawler. Oh, I was thinking about using it late, but I decided to put it in front as well. Mainly to distract his units and also to make sure that his units get pulled towards my side of the board and don't go for my tower that is currently undefended. Opponent here, by the way, is a quick supply. And yeah, this is something new that you can do because of the free unlock cost on starter units. An opponent here able to get 2 sledges out alongside his double Stormcallers and triple Fang. Scary thing indeed. Sledges are very good against Steel Balls, and so I will definitely feel that. I'd be quite surprised here if I could somehow turn this. The main idea when I go Steel Balls like this is playing for something like the Wraith, which I think currently is in a good spot and definitely does pair quite well with the Steel Balls. I doubt I'll be investing more into the Hounds because, again, it opens up a variety of problems in terms of units that are very effective at countering my entire board. We will get a debuff, so not too bad here. But yeah, the Hounds are struggling and the Steel Balls are now dying to that second pack of Stormcallers. Still relatively close, I would say, because my opponent did use all of his additional resources. But that's a tough one for sure. Now, considering the setup here, I was expecting my opponent to put down a shield to protect all of his units, because otherwise I would get way too much value out of my missile strikes. And that's why on this round you will see me only using one, just to kind of test and keep one in my pocket for the next turn possibly. I do have Steel Balls, so if he does go for a shield, maybe we can break it and we can get even more tempo. If he doesn't shield, then one missile should get enough value to make me win the round. I decided to pick up the haste module here. Main idea for that would be to put it onto something like a Wraith. But we'll have to see. I am expecting him to go into Phoenix on this round, so maybe I should pick up a Phoenix myself as well. Let's see. Looks like it's just going to be more Sledgehammers. So opponents here really going hard on the Sledgehammer counter to the Steel Balls, trying to kind of protect this tower, which is a logical move as well. It's quite common for me to buy a beacon and try to beacon into this open tower. But the sledges should prevent that. And yeah, I do pick up a Phoenix here. And I decided to put the haste module onto that. Main reason for that is, again, I was expecting a Phoenix to come out here for Sacco. And I didn't want to give any tempo. We pick up one more Crawler, kind of as a second wave, and we decide to put a missile on the right tower in case he decided to cheese me. And let's see how this goes. Steel Balls will lock onto some of the Sledgehammers. If I can get rid of the shield, I'll be very happy. And the Steel Balls here are getting pulled into that left tower because of the new Sledgehammer edition. So we might be able to get a debuff again, and this Steel Ball is indeed locked on. Fangs are gone, and those Stormcallers are sitting behind the shield. So it looks like we should be able to grab a debuff here and even win the round, I think. All of the Fangs are now gone, no more anti-air, and suddenly we've managed to turn things around instantly against Quick Supply. And on top of that, we also got 100 investment out of that shield that didn't end up doing anything. And so now we still have our second missile, and I doubt my opponent will be willing to go for another shield. So really good setup for us. A lovely situation to be in. Sacco here decides to grab the advanced missile device spec. So lots of damage available here. I should probably put some units in front. I think I can get missiled with this setup that I went for. And I decide to pick up double Stormcaller now. It's something I wanted to go for prior to buying the Phoenix, but I was just scared that I would lose to air. And yeah, but looking at this setup, it just seems very vulnerable to something like Stormcallers. I decided to use the second missile on the right side. That way I don't really have to chase into his side of the board, and I can just kind of focus on the left. Double Phoenix now coming out, as well as a Fang, so triple deployment. But yeah, looks like he won't be going for another shield, and we will be getting a lot of value out of our specialist on this given round. I also do level my steel balls on the left. Just give them a bit more tankiness, provide a bit more front line. And I think we should be in a great spot. Now, I think my opponent here could also try to go for something like Raiden. My board is quite vulnerable to it. Lots of good things to hit. And Raiden, honestly, it doesn't just do well into Steel Balls and Hounds. It also does decently well into Phoenixes. The chain effect that it has will often mean that it just gets to snipe those backline units. Now, the Steel Balls, I'm very happy with I leveled, as they do manage to punch through yet again, and we do manage to get another debuff. And that should mean we clean up those remaining Phoenixes and we win another round. So for now, very happy about the early game. I think that could have gone much worse. And now round 4, things are starting to pick up in pace. We've got level 2 Mustangs and 2 deployments of those being offered to us, and that just seems like the best thing to pick here. Fire Badger is similar to the units I already have, so it would get countered by, again, Scorpion, or Raiden. And yeah, Mustangs are just so powerful here. If anything, it also does help me in terms of chaff clear. My opponent has a lot of Fangs on the board, and my chaff clear is really not that ideal. I only had a couple of Hounds and some Storms. And so this round, we go for instant range, very important, and we grab another Mustang, and my opponent does the exact same. Sacco, knowledgeable player, understands how powerful this is. And yeah, we're just going to be pushing in a bit more. I do notice the advanced missile device spec, so that's why I add a crawler here in the corner to try and help my steel balls survive. But we just get a late missile instead, and let's see how this plays out. I can definitely also try and sell my Phoenix. I mean, they did well last round, but with these high-level Mustangs, I think I'm not too scared of armored air units. And retrieving that haste mod seems like a pretty good play. The other problem that you'll see as well is my Phoenixes are now outranged, and I'm not sure I am willing to commit something like the range enhancement. Mustangs did a fine job. Stormcallers will be able to at least save me some hit points here, but looks like my opponent will be winning out on round 4 and stabilize, stop the bleeding, make sure that he doesn't fall below 3k. And so the mirror round there does go in favor of Sacco. Now round number 5, and efficient light manufacturing shows up. There's also a fortified Mustang and a super heavy armor. Super heavy could be good onto the steel balls I have, but I'm not really willing to commit into steel balls. And fortified Mustang I don't think is that good of a card. It kind of prevents your Mustangs from carrying because they'll have too little range. And instead I just decide to go for the efficient light manufacturing. I sell my Phoenix, and that allows me to get triple blue Mustang as a deployment. Really, really powerful. Trying to attack this right side. I will have the level advantage by the looks of it, as my opponent didn't go for that given card, so he won't be able to make as much money as I do during this game. And both of us are quite healthy, so I think I will be able to easily make profit off of efficient light. Instead, it's going to be the field maintenance tech on the sledgehammers. He does run armor as well, so I was a bit surprised about this. It tends to be somewhat similar, but against high-level Mustangs, it definitely does make a difference, where armor would make it much, much harder for these Mustangs to punch through. So I was quite happy to see field maintenance instead. It is cheaper, so I kind of get it. And yeah, I mean, a pretty simple turn here. We also grab the attack enhancement, of course, relatively important. I tried to hit the Mustang pack with the Phoenixes because I thought he would shield on the right to try and save the Mustang, Phoenix, and Stormcaller pack. But yeah, guesses correctly, trying to save his haste module stangs instead. And we don't get that much value out of the missile strike. Still, look at the amount of Mustangs I have. We're completely overwhelming our opponent, and one thing I noticed as well is my opponent is not running AP. Instead, he runs high explosive on the Mustangs, and I think this tech is not that strong. It is quite good against Fangs sometimes, but I just feel like in general AP is the better tech. Looks like we will be losing out, however. I do keep my missile at the very least, and this tower is leveled, but not quite going our way. But we did take an econ card, remember? And that should help us. Round number 6, we get additional deployment slot offered. Now that is very, very fortunate. It's such a good pairing with the efficient light. I'll be able to get tons of deployments out, and that will also mean I will pay back the cost of that card much, much faster. I'm taking my time here, but honestly, it's a bit of a no-brainer. I probably should be a little bit careful about Rhino Assault there, but additional deployment slot just looks so good here. Sacco decides to pick it up as well. And then he must be kicking himself here after not picking the efficient light. Let's see how this goes. I decide to go for this pack of Mustangs on the right, and I decide to click AP on the Mustangs. I know that next turn there's going to be a unit drop, and so I'd rather wait to see what is being offered, because that is going to give me more efficiency, right? Obviously, I'd like to pair this with something like a Fortress, but if I buy it now, I can't get it from the drop, and maybe something like a Melter will show up instead and instantly give my opponent a counter. So instead, I like to do this. Triple Blue Mustang, yet again, with the AP tech now. And yeah, that is looking very scary. I think actually it's only double Blue Mustang, sorry. I think I bought 2 crawlers as well. So we do get our quad deployments in, which means we make 200 off of the efficient light after making another 150 last round with the triple deploy. And so that card is already paying off, I believe. Or at least it's even. And looks like my opponent doesn't have the money to shield. Instead goes for the underground, which is usually really good against Mustang. But with the AP being clicked, we're not doing too badly into them. And look at the sea of Mustangs I have. I mean, this is just absolutely insane. We're also winning the right side. Those Mustangs might be leveling. They'll get a Tara debuff, which should give us an advantage here on the left side. And as we're farming the enemy level 3 Mustangs, I think ours will level up as well. Does look to be the case. We also grab a missile here for a -50. And maybe, just maybe, we can't even take down this barrier that was lingering. The Phoenix is too slow at killing the Storms, and the Storms have plenty of damage to kill that shield. Mustangs will get the tower as well. So round 6 goes in our favor, and that's very nice because this was a setup turn for whatever the free units are going to be offering us. And there we are. Instant pickup, level 2 Fortress shows up, and that is simply a no-brainer. It's what I wanted anyway, and this kind of shows you how a lot of games play at high MMR, right? You simply go for some non-committal plays, you play for your backline, your chaff clear, and then you wait out the drop, and that'll give you some type of direction to go in. Now, I was expecting my opponent to go for Fortress here as well, but instead he goes for the Saber and sells it and grabs Vulcans with Incendiary. I kind of understand this. What I thought he would do is sell and go straight into Melter, expecting the Fortresses from me. But I think he realized that he had a bit of a chaff clear problem, right? I am ahead here in the Mustang mirror because, well, look at how many I have. I've got AP as an advantage, and underground crawlers would be a big problem for him to deal with. High explosive ammo really does not cut it against underground crawlers, and so he needs something else. And that something else is going to be Incendiary Vulcans. I do instantly pick up 2 more Fortresses with Barrier though, and so this oil play doesn't quite look like it'll work out. And to be honest, I've got quite a few units here that can prevent this, right? I see that my opponent doesn't run the War Crime setup, as we call it, with the oil bomb as well. And that means it's not going to be that many missiles. And with this many Mustangs and Missile Interceptor being as efficient as it is, I can probably intercept almost all of this fire. And never mind that, I also do still have some of those hounds on the board from the early game, and I might be able to click the fire extinguisher tech on them. For now though, looks like this play will be a net positive, and Sacco will take home round number 7, but I managed to kill all the giants, and though I don't take too much damage. Round number 8, both of us pick up another missile strike. I've got another one off cooldown from my specialist, and let's see how this plays out. Decide to just hit some Mustang packs here on the right, and I decide to pick up the Missile Interceptor as the third tech. Now you might say this will diminish my damage, but I think intercepting the AP Stormcallers as well as the Vulcans with Incendiary here is simply going to be worth it, and with the sheer amount of Mustangs I have, I shouldn't have too much trouble. We do get 4 shields out of Sacco here though. We'll be blocking all of my missiles, but if I manage to get those, that's going to really cut into his resource management. Just decide to pick up more Mustangs here. We also pick up some more fortresses, trying to save our Mustangs. Looks like we might not quite be defending our Mustangs adequately here though. That could be a very valuable missile strike. I think I kind of just picked it blindly and didn't think too much about my opponent being able to pick it as well. We'll have to see how much we get punished for doing this, or forgetting to defend this. And not seeing Melter here, it doesn't look like I will need something like the range enhancement. Fire will still kind of land. Mustang's not entirely able to block all of it, but the incendiary doesn't last too long, and it seems like my Mustangs will be safe. And now for the second salvo, most of it will get intercepted. Vulcans are locked onto my fortresses, and even though my opponent does have Stormcallers with AP, those are also getting intercepted, and the damage will really have to come from the Mustangs and the low-level Phoenixes. Meanwhile, right side is now winning, slowly getting to that tower, trying to aim for that debuff, and that will be possible. And now I think the rest of my Mustangs should be able to clear the remaining units. We might even keep a fortress alive here as we're intercepting those Stormcallers. That's going to be a really nice round, as we're sending our opponent down to sub 1500. Round number 9. More free units available. Melting points there being offered, and I will be picking those up myself because I was a little bit afraid of the Wraith. I think melting point here is a good choice for my opponent, but I could see a Wraith cheese being problematic, and that is what my opponent decides to go for. Yeah, you have to be a bit wary of what is available, and so picking up those melters, making sure that I don't lose to the one thing I can't deal with, somewhat important. And I probably will have to add a melter here on the left as well. Instead, however, it looks like that Wraith will be finding its way onto my flank. And yeah, well, we'll have to see. Those Mustangs, some of them should turn, but that Wraith is awfully tanky. I don't think we'll be able to deal with it. But we might be able to punch through regardless. Opponent just buys more Vulcans, trying to get as much fire down as possible. But here we decide to click the Sprinkler tech, the fire extinguisher, if you will. And they are kind of safe, these hounds. I decide to add a few more to the board. They're really cheap because of the efficient light. And so I can get plenty of them on the board in addition to the ones I already had. And here, it's going to be quite effective, I think, right? Whatever doesn't get intercepted, the hounds are just safe. They're sitting behind the fortress, and so they should be able to walk far enough to block some of that fire. Oh, well, clean up some of the fire, I should say. Crawler being added to that flank as well. I do add a missile there. But, yeah, this Wraith should be able to make it to the tower. The Mustangs are doing a good job. There's no tech on the Wraith, but it doesn't look like we should be able to win. On the main fight, though, things are looking fantastic. Again, no additional DPS was added. I really do think Melters here should have been picked up, but there's just a sea of Mustangs. Like, this is just so hard to deal with. And it's something that I've seen a lot of, right? Fortress Mustang is a classic comp, and so is Fortress, or Mustang Melter, rather. And it's a comp I've been seeing a lot. And yeah, that'll simply be all she wrote. What a game. I think here the tough part was both of us got the same drop, right? We got the blue Mustangs, and then both of us went for... I got the Fortress offered, but before that happened, I was able to pick up Efficient Light as well as additional deployment, and I had the advantage in terms of tax. I think having AP over HE available gives me the edge, and so I'm able to pressure there, and it forced my opponents to go into a different composition, and it didn't quite work, right? There's a couple of things here that he could have tried, like, for instance, going for Melter, but I think in the long run, it would have been really hard to pull that off. And I did grab some melters myself, so I would be able to contest the enemy melters too. So it's not just a Fortress Mustang comp, it's also a Melter Mustang comp, which at this stage is simply going to be horrendously difficult to deal with. So yeah, that's going to be all. Let me know what you think down below. Do you like the Mustang? Have you played it a bunch? Let me know your thoughts. If you want to stay up to date with the latest content, please do consider subscribing. And if you want to see me live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.